I would like to request Dr. S. Srinivasan sir, Professor, CSC Department, to introduce about our guest speaker, Mr. Nitish Mahajan, Managing Director, Conjonics Total Solution Private Limited, Chandigarh. Please, sir.
So good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of our CSE department, Head of the Department, Dr. P. Elmalai sir, Principal, Dr. Anbuchelian sir, and the management, I welcome the speaker, Sri Nitish Mahajan, and all other participants to this second session. It is my pleasure to introduce the speaker of this session, Sri Nitish Mahajan, founder and managing director, Contronics Total Solutions Private Limited, Chandigarh. He is also serving as a director of Himachal Steels and Wires Private Limited and Himachal Aluminium and Conductors Private Limited. He started his career as senior web developer at Net4 India Limited. He also worked as the director of technology in Content Technologies Private Limited, Hyderabad. He has vast experience in vehicle telematics and vehicle IoT. We are really fortunate to have such a multi-talented and a multi-skilled personality for this session. Now I request Sri Nitish Mahajan ji to share his views on big data in intelligent transport management and vehicle telematics using AR and VR. Please, sir.
Thank you very much. It's really an honor to be with all the faculty and members here and all the members of this particular session. Thank you for introducing me. I hope I'm able to, can you just confirm you're able to hear me?
Nitish Mahajan,
Yes, sir, you're audible.
good morning. This is Shobha speaking. A little bit louder, sir, please.
Yeah, just a second. Hold on.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Can you hear me now properly?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Okay. Can you see my screen? If you can just confirm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. So good morning, everyone. My name is Nitish Mahajan. Before moving ahead, I would like to, give a small, view about us and what we do exactly. Are you able to see the presentation in front?
Yes, sir, it is viewable. We are able to.
Okay, so a little bit about the company profile to start with, because that is going to give a lot of introduction about what we do and what I am and what we are into. So we basically a group of companies. We have about we have 4 companies in totality, and we started as a telecom operator in 2003, and we worked as an ISP for 15 years. And we are one of the fastest growing companies in IoT, telecom, big data, and software development. We strongly promote Make in India, Skilled India, and socially responsible society. The companies that we, currently I am the managing director of Himachal Aluminium and Conductors, in which we are producing all kinds of aluminum and copper cables and wires. And steel and wire, we are into, steel wire manufacturing. And we have now Conjonics Total Solution, which is a, leading ICT telecom solution service provider. The skills, that we, focus on is telecom, ISP, software engineering. We are one of the forerunners in Linux, mobile application, PHP, web application, big data. We also have a stream in virtual reality. And then IoT, which is Internet of Things. Vehicle telematics is one of our main and focused business. And of course, managed telephony. We started as an ISP telecom operator and then moved on to web engineering, mobile application development, and now we're into big data and M2M and IoT development. So some of the projects that I wanted to share with you, so that what is the industry currently up to, and what are the products that are flourishing in the market. So we have developed more than 100 softwares which involve big data, ICT, IT, and such domains. So, and we have currently about 5 lakh beneficiaries using these products. To start with, one of the product called Access Secure. In the presentation, there's lot of discussion about this particular product, and this is basically the main topic for today and the product that we're going to also demonstrate. Access Secure. We also have the Access Secure tracking system, which has the mobile application, web application, including into one particular product. Then we had developed a product which involves a lot of data, which is currently the PM Vani project that you will see being announced by the Government of India. It's basically, for enabling the telecom operators and ISPs to be, able to make their Wi-Fi networks across the city and provide, free or paid internet services. We have a UMIS, which is a complete, a very large product, involves a lot of big data and artificial intelligence and even virtual reality. So, I'm going to demonstrate a little bit about this. Track My Bus are applications which revolve around that particular software of the Access Secure. Then we have Guardian of Governance. RightPad is another application just that you see. It involves a lot of data. Email access, MIS. I'm skipping a few things which you can always ask at the end of the presentation. Then we have a school bus tracking application which involves, which provides, tracking to various parents who who having their students boarding the buses. So there's a lot of data flow that happens between the ITMS and the mobile applications of the parents. And then there's a Track My application, in which you can, we target various assets, including you can have even track your, it has a personal tracker, it has a vehicle tracker. So you can basically track any kind of asset. So the Access Gateway is a UTM product that we've developed, again related to communication and data, in which we are able to manage on the network all the access to the users being provided. So it's a unified threat management product. This is our some of the products that we developed in house, starting with the Access Gateway appliance. Then we have the GPS trackers. And we have the mobile Wi-Fi surveillance solutions and Access Tel application appliances. Some of the big data upcoming projects that we have: the grocery e-store cloud, automatic park management, traffic management. Then we have the cybersecurity at my phone and the passenger information system. So I'll skip this part of some of the achievements that we've received, some of the awards that we've received. We've been announced as the top, 20 promising telecom industry by the CIO review, and again cloud service provider by CIO review. We were rated amongst the top 100 small businesses of India in 2011. Our strength has always been our people. So we very strongly believe that people and clients is where the company progresses. We have clients ranging from all kinds of government sector, ministries, departments, private sectors, schools, colleges, universities. Some of the clients that we have, we just quickly going to them. We are headquartered in Chandigarh, in Sector 34. Chandigarh is a very beautiful city and wonderful surroundings. So any of you who's not been to Chandigarh, you must come to Chandigarh and visit our office as well. So today we'll discuss about the big data use case, and the topic that I have chosen is intelligent transport management, and which involves an AIS compliance system, vehicle location tracking backend system across states and UTs. This is basically a project being initiated by Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, Government of India. And I've kept this presentation and the whole session for this particular topic. So what do we mean by AIS 140? AIS is an automotive industry standard which is being formulated by government as well as the testing agencies. Plus, there are other members to it, like the manufacturers of vehicles, manufacturers of various components. So it's a complete ITMS standard, Intelligent Transport Management System standard, which is being formulated by government of India. So to begin with, we'll discuss about why this product is there and what is the use, because we are here to define the use case. So there's a GSR, there's a government notification which says that the installation of location tracking and emergency button is being made mandatory in all public service and national permit vehicles. Sorry. Why this project was initiated? There's a background to it. There was a Nirvya case back in 2012 in which a minor girl was raped in the vehicle, in a moving vehicle. And after that, there was a committee being formed by the government of India, and they had created under the uh, guidance of the Honorable Prime Minister. This particular project was initiated, and it was the committee formed was asked to create a complete project which would involve the tracking of all the vehicles across the country. So there's a huge data involved in this particular project, and that is what brings us to the case study of this particular project. And what we have done in this particular project is, I'll detail you in this particular presentation. So to start with, intelligent transport management system implementation for states, how it happens basically is because the government is mandated that all the vehicles must be installed with a ITMS product called AIS 140 vehicle location tracking device. In common, it is called VLTD, or some of you may be aware of a GPS trackers. But GPS tracker, basically GPS is a US technology. It's a US based satellites. And the government of India has now launched through ISRO IRNSS satellite system, in which the India would be the fourth country to become self-dependent on their own system. So already those satellites are in the air, and this particular AIS 140 has a mandate to speak to those IRNSS satellites. So the positioning of the vehicle is being taken from the IRNSS system. So we'll see how this particular system is and what is all about. So basically, how the data flows into the system. There's a GPS satellite from where we get a signal, and this signal is basically the GPS location. In now, I would say it's a IRNSS satellite rather than we saying GPS satellite. So the vehicle tracking unit is installed inside the vehicle, and it connects through GPRS through a communication tower to a centralized server. Now this could be one server, it could be multiple servers, but in our case, it's because it's a very large data, so there are multiple servers to it, and then there is a monitoring unit to it. It could be in form of applications, it could be in the form of a centralized monitoring center. So what we've done is we've created a product called UMIS, which has a AIS 140 backend, vehicle location tracking backend application software, generally called the CCC, Command and Control Center. And we'll see how it works in a big data environment. So this is basically the architecture of that particular system. A GPS sending the data to the GPS based VLT, which gets the position of the vehicle and sends to to some backend servers. There's a cluster of servers which are there because data is actually very huge. We have communication server. There's a AVL application middleware to it. There's a portal server to it. Then there's a map rendering server, and then there are huge database servers. So this happens uh, at a very complex levels, and then what user gets is an interface which allows the user in this thing in this particular project would be various stakeholders. Now, what kind of stakeholders would be there in the system? It could be the vehicle owner himself. It could be the government. It could be the testing agency. It could be the ERSS Department of States. It could be Transport Department of the states. It could be the manufacturer of the vehicle. It could be the manufacturer of the VLT device, the distributors, dealers, and of course, citizen, the end user to it. So they are accessing the whole system through through mobile and web applications, and the whole system works entirely over the TCP/IP. And you'll see, there's a lot of data flow that happens in the particular system. Now, what are the components of this particular system? So the components are the vehicle location tracking device. Uh, it has an embedded SIM to it. So the earlier GPS trackers that were available in the market, which were more, I would say, more of coming from Chinese market, were having SIMs which you can insert into the device. But the AIS 140 compliant VLTD has embedded SIMs to it. This means you can change the SIMs. You can change the SIMs, but you can change the profiles. You can have multiple profiles on the same SIM. So you can have Airtel, Vodafone, and BSNL as three different profiles, so that if any particular time, any particular network is not available, that particular the device can switch to this secondary network, and so forth. Plus, the IS 140 mandates through the CMVR, which is a Central Motor Vehicle Rule 125H, requires that certain panic buttons to be installed in the IS 140 compliant, device and the vehicles. So these panic buttons get installed inside the vehicle. The use of the panic button is in case of any distressed position. Anybody can press the panic button, and the signal would directly go to the ERSS team. ERSS by ERSS I mean Emergency Response System of the states. So all the states across the country have ERSS control rooms. Therein, the police and the other enforcement teams are sitting, and they are monitoring the whole system. And whenever somebody presses the panic button, automatically the ERSS team will get alert, and they will find the location of the vehicle, and the police can take command of that. The second component is the backend command control center system. Now it is very easy for us to understand what could be the backend command control center consist of. It's a very large data store warehouse, wherein all the data is being stored. Now it also has a connectivity to ERSS and the Vahan. Now Vahan is basically a centralized database of Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, in which we have all the data of all the registrations, permits of the vehicles. So all the driving license, even the driving licenses of the permit holders and the driving license holders. So all the data is in the Vahan database. It's a very large data, again controlled by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Then, of course, there's a monitoring center in which the operation team sits. Operation team consists of ERSS team members, police department, and other departments who are monitoring that particular center. The fourth very important part is the applications. Now, the vehicle tracking has to have an application where all the reportings and the live data would come. So it has various kinds of applications. I will demonstrate you those applications during this presentation. And of course, the last but not least, the communication facility. The communication has to be either 2G, 3G, or 4G. Currently, the M2M policy of the Government of India requires that the devices must support at least 2G. So 2G is I would say it is appointed to be utilized for M2M, all kinds of M2M applications. Now, how the data flows from the panic button and the devices to Vahan and to the ERSS control room is a slide right in front of you. So anybody would press the panic button, the EMR data, the emergency data will immediately go to the state emergency response backend system. Now, basically, before this, I want to tell you there are basically two types of data that flows from the system. One is the PVT data, which is, we call it as the position velocity time data, which is basically in general terms is the location data. And second data is the emergency data. The emergency data is for use by the various state police and ERSS team for responding to a distress call. So what will happen is the device gets installed into the vehicle along with the panic buttons, and the they will immediately get connected to a centralized server. So now these are basically three different types of servers. One server is the server which is being the state, which we call the state monitoring center server, in which all the data is being of all the vehicles come to the centralized state servers. The second is the emergency data, which is the emergency server, which is what we call it the state emergency response servers or the emergency servers. And the third is being installed directly by the VLTD manufacturers. We call it the VLTD manufacturers backend system. So there is a redundancy in the whole system, but the data is actually very, very huge. I mean, each device is sending data to the centralized servers after every 5 or 10 seconds. So you can imagine each packet is about 200 and 240 bytes, and you can roughly calculate every device is going to send about 100 MB of data to a centralized server. And all this data, as per the law, is to be retained for a minimum 1 year. So that is what the law says. So what will be the components of backend in the monitoring, command control, and the user services? Of course, it has the software, which has a centralized vehicle tracking software and application, and a unified MIS. Now, this is the main component wherein all the data is being coming to this centralized server. The second is the command layer module, common layer module. The common layer module is the module which connects itself to the Vahan. So this is the responsible to upload the data of vehicles to Vahan. So whenever a device is fitted inside the vehicle, the common layer module will send the information that this particular vehicle is fitted with so and so device. So that gets connected to Vahan, and this information is stored on Vahan. And of course, there are citizen applications, including computers applications. At the data architecture, it's very easy for anybody to understand what how it happens is there is an application gateway wherein all the data is coming to. That this is the main gateway wherein the data comes in, and which is running in a virtualized environment across the states, I would say across the country, wherein data logging, alerts and messaging, all kinds of plotting and geofencing, and various reports are happening. Then there's a data store. There's a data store which has a cache layer to it, in which the data is being cached so that the user is experiencing a faster, I would say, recovery of reports and interfaces. So this is the main architecture of the data center. I would request if there is any question we can take. I mean, I would like to. I mean, I will otherwise continue to speak. Yes, ma'am. Shobha, ma'am. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are just following it, sir.
Yeah. Is there any question? Otherwise, I'll keep continuing.
Yeah, participants are also listening. They will raise the question either in the chat box or maybe they can unmute their and they can question it. Sir.
Okay. Okay. So should I continue further?
Yeah, you continue. Sir.
Okay. Thank you. Now to demonstrate, what exactly is a command control center. The UMIS has a command control center, which tackles all the data, the entire data, artificial intelligence, all kinds of AR, VR. So this is the main control module, which is controlling everything. So basically, the command control center. This is UMIS is basically a product which has been developed by us and being used across various states across the country. And we by far it is currently the one of the largest systems being utilized by government and manufacturers, which is the system is been designed specifically as per AIS 140 standard and being and is which is basically formulated and approved by government of India. So we've got this tested from STQC. The product has to be tested, and we've got it tested from STQC, which is the Government of India organization under MIT, Ministry of Electronics and IT. So this particular product is has a nationwide acceptance and is being currently being implemented in various states. So it comes with a loaded site responsive web application, which is easy for users to use. It is multilingual, it has multiple themes, multiple features, and I'll be very happy to demonstrate the features as well as show you a little bit about the interface of it. Now, what features would be there? Now, what is compliance? Now, there are the government guidelines are there, which and the standard is there. The standard has a very strict guidelines. It must have live tracking. Now you can imagine tracking lakhs and lakhs of vehicles on a particular backend system of states. There's the tracking data is actually very huge. So you have to have live tracking. Every user must be able to experience live tracking of their particular vehicle, whether it is the police tracking the vehicles, whether it's enforcement team tracking the vehicles, or it is user tracking their own vehicles, or it is the end consumer or end user, or I would say the citizens tracking school buses or the public buses or public transport, that they are utilizing. So government has very defined permits. Now permits have defined tracking, tracks. I would say in the other word, defined routes. So for example, a vehicle is given a permit to travel from Chennai to Coimbatore. So it must travel through a specific route. If it deviates from the specific route, then actual movement of that particular vehicle against the track defined vehicle, we get an alert. The system would immediately, keep up publish an alert to the ERSs or to the enforcement team that the vehicle is not moving as per the defined track. The third thing is maps. We all use maps every day. So now you cannot have just coordinates to the system. Okay, this vehicle is at a particular coordinate. It has to be mapped over a particular map. There are different types of maps. There is Google Map. There is India now also has through NIC Bharat Maps. Then there are OpenStreet Maps and maps from Bing and maps from Baidu. There are a lot of maps which are there. So that particular map now for AIS 140, the map has to be hosted in India. It has to have Indian standard, following Indian standards. The fourth thing is there has to be facility for users to real-time track and historical playback of all the vehicles. So for example, I have a vehicle. I must as a user be able to see that where this vehicle was 30 days back and what track did it follow. A very advanced use case of this would be a police caught a vehicle which is carrying, for example, drugs or contraband. So police should be able to track where this vehicle came from. So it has to have all the data of that particular vehicle in the command control center module and the data store, wherein they are able to play a historical playback of that particular vehicle. The fifth thing would be location on demand. As an enforcement officer or as police or even as an end user, I should be able to track a vehicle on demand anytime. It should be available to me all the time. The next thing is authorized routes, and it's similar to what we discussed earlier. So there are very predefined authorized routes, and we should be also able to play back those actual unauthorized routes. Now, various kinds of alerts get generated into the system. There should be a system, there is a system to define various kinds of alerts on specific events. Vehicle going offline, vehicle going out of bounds. Out of bounds would mean that they are not following the route or they're not within the geo defined location. Vehicle, or maybe somebody tampered with the vehicle's electronics, this particular VLTD device, and then uh, any kind of speed limit. There is a time which is not too far wherein the police and the traffic police would not be required on the roads. This particular system is going to generate challans directly from the centralized control room. So if there is a permissible limit to that particular road and speed is exceeded, automatically alert gets generated and police can, or the enforcement team can immediately take action to it. So the system has those features already. Then a vehicle moves out of bound, data is not getting received from the onboard device. And the alerts can be any type. It can be an SMS, it can be notification on the app, calls, emails, web pop-ups, etc. Notification management for all stakeholders, including the vehicle owner in case of overspeeding. I want to know whether my vehicle was being, was overspeeding by my driver. In my device is not working. There's a tampering. It has gone out of bounds. It has gone out of the authorized routes. So we can generate and manage all those alerts and notifications to it. Then device and device firmware management. Now, this is a very important thing in a very large application like this. Once you have a device being fitted inside the vehicle and vehicle moves pan India all across the country, if there is anything I need to change in the device, so I should not be calling the device back to my base location or at the factory or wherever to change the device firmware. So all these devices have a FOTA, which is firmware over the air facility, in which the devices are sitting at the command control center. We immediately are able to upload all that particular firmware from the centralized data repository of the firmwares. So by a click of button, the devices get updated automatically. We are able to change the device parameters, whether we want to change it from 5 seconds data to 10 seconds data, and all those things can happen centralized. Then do on kind of data management. Now in our system, we are able to archive records up to n number of years. The law says that 1 year, but we have used data being captured from day one, when it was installed until date. We have all the data. But the live records of the data should be always available for last 90 days. That is the requirement of the command control center. And we should be able to archive using some managing utility. Of course, there has to be certain integration and compliance sets. When we install a SIM inside the vehicle, inside the device which is fitted in the vehicle, there has to be SIM verification. SIM verification in the sense that the SIM must be activated as per the law. So the law says that the SIMs must be activated for at least 2 years for new vehicles and for 1 year for old vehicles. So this compliance is available in the command control center. Then the device activation on Vahan and health records. Now all these devices send a lot of data about their health, how their battery life is there, what kind of data would be there is its own health. So you can just simply imagine what an electronics device would send. So it would be sending its battery, it would be sending vehicle's battery, it would be sending whether the vehicle battery is connected to the device. So all those things are already there in the device health records. And anything goes wrong with the device, the health records, which is a data repository made at the centralized server, tells about the record and the historical record of the particular device. Then there are certain other compliances like registration and activation, publishing data in Vahan, re-registration and activation in case the device is getting changed, periodic health check of the device, receiving all kinds of alerts and integration with testing agencies, RTOs, VLTD manufacturers, their dealers, etc. So what is the common layer application? So the common layer application does everything. It does the registration to, to Vahan. It does registration to the ERSS system, and all those things are done centralized by the common layer. So these are some of the features that are being defined as per AIS 140 standard. Additionally, we've also developed how to convert multiple backend systems into one, because this the manufacturer's backend system there's going to be a lot of data with them. So we need to converge those big data to a centralized repository which is being maintained by the state. So we are able to do this through the common layer architecture. Now, the UMIS has interfaces for all such peoples. It has interfaces for governments, department. It has VLTD, manufacturers interfaces, the distributors, dealers, vehicle owners, and the end citizens. The various kinds of integration that happen for all this data which is coming is with the Vahan API, with the eSIM API, payment gateways. State has their own. Some of the states have their own MIS, so it has to have an integration with them. Then it has to have a communication with SMS, call, email gateways, etc. And we've also developed push API and the pull API modules for external integrations with states or any other agency that is appointed by the government. So this is how the data flows on the common layer. So common layer has API calls to the common layer system, which sends the data to the state or government common layer. There are single secure platforms for the enforcement people, including police, testing agencies. They get an interface to this particular application. So these are some of the USPs that we have developed. There is a complete empanelment process. So people they empanel. So what happens is states empanel the manufacturers. So rather than having different systems for different things, they keep on adding new modules to it. So these are some of the add-on modules which are available. Then when we are running any particular system and maintaining this huge big data, there has to be QoS parameters. There has to be server uptimes. There has to be complaint ticket monitoring system. There has to be complaint management system. So the UMIS that we have is catering to all these QoS parameters. And then, of course, the state also defines certain penalty clauses and service level agreements. They also do show cause and penalty processing. So we have a module for that. Then the verification happens directly through the Vahan API. Then there's a QR system. There's a secure common layer which is encrypted using various security and encryption algorithms. The QR code is not like a standard QR code. It's a QR code which has an encryption to it. So it cannot be just scanned by a normal phone or something. It has to have the data must be very secure. It has to be kept in a I would say encrypted format. Then we have fully trackable system by government and law enforcement agencies. We have mobile applications for MBI, road inspectors, RTO, commissioner, traffic police to track and verify legality certificates. Then, as I told earlier, there is a two-way push and pull open API for government to integrate with any other system. The platform is multilingual; it has various languages to it. So what happens is the applications that get delivered at various levels is for government is a centralized common layer web portal. There's a control center application. Then there are mobile applications for government. There's a Vahan API integration, payment gateway integration. For manufacturers, dealers of the VLTD devices, there are common layer web portals, APIs. For citizens, there's a complete passenger information system, including citizens applications. Now again, the common layer is same. It is multilingual, multi-feature, because it is this system which is going to be giving a lot of services to the government. So it is very friendly to use and has a web application. It also has a mobile application called UMIS, web mobile application. It has logins for master distributor. So what happens is the data, because there's a lot of data which takes place at various levels, there's a lot of collection of data. So what happens is whenever a technician would install a device inside the vehicle, he would also have a technician app. So you will click up a photo of the device being fitted into the vehicle, upload its video for proofing purpose, and that data goes back to the central repository. The common application for citizens with passenger information is a common application. What happens is there is a application now being given to the citizens. They are able to track the buses just like you have various other uh, I would say bus services aggregators like Redbus and all. Now the government is looking to provide this as a single application, and this can be done by one of the applications that we developed. Some of the states are using it. It's called Track My Bus. So in which you are able to see your buses live, and you're able to you can search for routes. You can see bus timings, and there's a single application for private and government-owned PSPs. It has a live tracking of all the buses. You can see the arrival and departure information, PSP search, and vehicle information. So this is all part of the ITMS project, which is being formulated by the government. Then there's also a PIS interface on app as well as on bus stops. We see just like what we see the ETA, ETD information in the airports. Now it is a PIS being displayed at the bus stops. So some of the states have already started to implement this, and this data gets again populated from the centralized repository of the government and comes over to that particular screen through an on-app and external interface. So there are certain revenue share models. There are advertisements on applications, which is ad controller to it, and there is a SOS on even on the application. There's a voice command, and it also has integration with government helpline. It also has a feature for the specially able people, in which they are able to do voice-based routes, search for tourist information, using everything through using a voice command. So this is a little bit about this is the basis of our discussion today, and the presentation that was specifically about the intelligent transport management system. Now I'm going to demonstrate you um, the system, which is the UMIS. So this is the system in which it has login for everyone. Everybody gets logged into one common system, and it is called Unified MIS. So this why we call it unified is a single interface for every stakeholder. So there would be interface for transport department. There would be interface for uh, the manufacturers, citizens, vehicle owners, everybody onto the centralized uh, data. So the dashboard here would give an indication of one of the state, how many devices are currently running and what kind of reports could be there, how many devices were functional, how many devices were non-functional. Everything comes on this interface. So this is a live demonstration of that particular system wherein we get a lot of data from various vehicles. We get it has all kinds, all states. You can select the states to it, and the states data would come here, get populated. So as we speak, there are about 2 lakh devices being run on this particular state. Uh, the system manages every information through a barcode system. So there is a barcode which is allocated to every device, and the data gets stored into that particular data repository of that particular state. So there is a system to manage the devices. Let's see how many devices get managed. So for example, this is Tamil Nadu, this is Maharashtra, Himachal. These are all live devices being installed at various locations by various. And this will be the vehicle number. It's a school bus being fitted with a device. This is the name of the dealer. This is the name of the customer. So once we click on the device, it would give us all the data for that particular vehicle. So I'm going to go there to click on the device. So what happens is there is so this is the certificate and the QR code that generates for that particular device when it is fitted inside the vehicle, and this particular data is sent back to the one database at the central repository. Now these are all the details of that particular vehicle. It has the device serial number, it has the barcode to it, element types, and all these things are been defined by the government. And this data gets stored at the centralized database. Now to see how this device is functional, so we can track the device, we can track this particular vehicle. There is a tracking that happens, and the live tracking of that particular vehicle would come up. So for example, this particular vehicle is currently at a location somewhere in Tamil Nadu. This would be the live location of the particular vehicle. Currently, it is powered on, ignition of the vehicle is on, and you can also check the AC of that particular, whether it is on or off. We also are able to see the mileage. So mileage would mean that this vehicle has traveled 39.91 kilometers since morning. So this is how we get the uh, the uh, the reports of that particular vehicle. We are also able to track the vehicles, do a route playback. So once we do a route playback of that vehicle, where this vehicle has gone and what route did it follow, this can be done at route playback using the route playback function. What happens is I can search for the route playback of that particular vehicle. So the entire route of that vehicle would come in front of me. This vehicle has traveled from this source to this destination. If I zoom out, this vehicle is somewhere near Bangalore, or I would say Tamil Nadu, because it's a state boundary to it, and it is giving the route playback of that particular vehicle. If I start to play how that vehicle has moved across all these boundaries, so what happens is there's a play button here. So this data will come from the big data repository, and it will start to play me the vehicle's data, how it has moved, and what was the speed of the vehicle at that particular time. So this is everything is live through the big data repository and the intelligent systems attached to it. So this will give me at 7:58, this vehicle was moving at say this speed, and from the source it has calculated the distance of this. So I am able to track the vehicle, see its route playback, and also be able to see waypoints. So if I want to see waypoints, where all the waypoints were, if I want to see where the vehicle was overspeeding. So this vehicle has not overspeeded, otherwise it will show me the overspeeding, because it is not moving beyond a particular, I would say 60 kilometers, or what would be the overspeed limit of that particular road or the state. Then if I want to also see what are the stoppages, so I'll be able to see all the stoppages. If I click on any particular stoppage, so what will happen is it will show me what time did it stop. So it stopped for about 21 seconds on this particular location. I want to see how much it stopped here. It stopped for 2 minutes and 24 seconds. So this data is all coming from these states central big data repository, and it has got its own I would say intelligent algorithms which calculate the not just using the speed and the PVT data of the vehicle, it calculates all other parameters of that particular vehicle. Any questions here? Shobha ma'am.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, where is storing your data, sir? Tracking data. It is in cloud or some other database?
These are all state servers. States are hosting the data on the state data centers. For this centrally, they have been also been appointed. NIC has been appointed to store data at the NIC. So the states, some of the states have their own data centers, and some of the states are using the NIC services, which has been appointed by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Should I move ahead? So apart from this, now you can just simply imagine how vast the use cases would be. When you have a vehicle being fitted with such device, and you can, check the health status of the vehicle. You can check intelligently. You can also, see the route playback of that particular device. So this data is of huge importance for everyone, whether it is the transporter or the vehicle owner or the permit holder, or it is the government, or it is even the end citizens. Now, uh, for the vehicle owners, there's a specific interface. I'll show you some of the reports which happens there at that level. Because I want to, really give you the feedback and live feel of what the ITMS system is. So for example, if I want to see one particular if I want to see my whole fleet of vehicles, so herein I am able to see whole fleet of vehicles. This is the interface of the vehicle owner. So these are all my fleets as a vehicle or the transporter, vehicle owner or the transporter. I am able to see all the vehicles, whether my vehicle is moving. It shows me everything on the reporting dashboard. So we have various kinds of reports. I show you some of the reports which are there. There is routine checkup report, which has a summary report, which has a daily report, trip report. If the vehicle is fitted with a temperature monitor, for example, this gets fitted inside a vehicle which requires cold storage or something. So that particular vehicle will be fitted with a additional module of temperature monitor. Then additionally, all kinds of stoppage reports, speed analysis, fuel report. I mean, the device gets connected with the vehicle's fuel system, and we are also able to see the fuel report. So to avoid any kind of pilferage in or theft of fuel, I would say that this particular report can immediately tell you whether there was any theft of fuel or not. Then mileage report, what are the current running routes, if I've been defined for to follow a particular route, whether I'm following it or not. Then additionally, the device gets also connected with an attendance module. So this is for example, a school bus or a bus carrying employees of a company. So therein they are able to see the attendance, whether the child has boarded or the executive has boarded the bus or deboarded the bus. So you can always give them a card wherein they swipe that particular card and you can get the attendance to it. Then area fence reports, you can define a particular area, fence an area, and if you don't want the vehicle to go out of bound of that particular area. For example, I define that the vehicle should not go out of Chennai. So I can define a circular fence to it and uh, create an alert to it. So what happens is the data repository will create an alert trigger to it. So automatically when the repository comes to know about that the data has moved out of bounds, it will create a alert to the system. So this alert can go to anybody. You can forward it to the vehicle owner, you can forward it to the state transport commissioner's office, you can forward it to the RTO, you can even forward it to the police department. Then there are performance reports like monthly performances. So these are all the reports which are being utilized by various stakeholders. Mileage report. You can also do expense management, overspeed report. it would provide me the detailed overspeed report of all the vehicles. So the big data repository would have all those as a central repository, and you can generate the reports and give it to the end user of this particular application in the form of such reports like overspeed, distance, and other things. Then we have AC reports, whether the vehicle ignition, battery, even this device, because these are IoT devices, so you can also install it in a genset. Then what was the GPS status report, whether it was always connected to RNSS or the GPS module was connected to the satellite or not. Then fuel status, and also generate logs of the centralized logs of the device. So logs are actually very huge. Now devices are sending data. I'll show you on a separate panel how these devices get logged. So this is an interface for the administrative interface for the manufacturers and their dealers, wherein they are able to check whether the logs are coming from the device or not. So for example, I can search for all the devices. The red devices are basically the devices which are offline. However, the devices which are not offline, which are online, do not have any red alert to it. So I can click on any device and check the logs. Now I will be able to see the logs, the live data of that particular device coming to the server. So this is all the data which is coming to the server. It has a specific protocol of the data being defined by the by AIS 140 standard, and this data is what is getting logged at the server, at the centralized repository server or the big data server that we call it. Then in the reports, we have tracking, we can do route playback, we have the monitoring dashboard, we have advanced route playback, we have matrix view. We can do the matrix view of the device, see the whole picture in a form of a matrix. Then you can manage the all kinds of, you can manage your users, you can create roles, you can create access control lists, you can do your driver management. So these are all the functionalities which is available to the vehicle owner. He can do his entire management through this, and be able to monitor all the vehicles to it. So for example, I want to create any fence to the vehicle. I can always create a fence. For example, I select the vehicle. So I am able to create the fence. Now I can fence it to any number of kilometers. I want to fence this device to 50 kilometers, for example. So I want now what I've created is created a complete data pack which has fenced the vehicle to this particular geo fence which I have created. So what happens is the data store will create the coordinates of this geofence and store in it. Once the vehicle goes out of bound, it immediately creates an alert to the system. So this way I can create fence, I can create routes to it. I can also create a route fence. So idea is to create any kind of route and define that particular route, the entire coordinate to it. So what happens is here in the geofence, I assign that particular route to that particular vehicle. So once I've created a route, I can assign that route to the vehicle. So what will happen is the moment this vehicle will not follow that particular route, automatically the data repository will create an alert. Is there any question as of now?
Data
ma'am?
a small data missing, and how you will be able to recover it back, sir? Maybe by making use of your DBS or because your data shows that for every nanoseconds, the data should be updated all the time through the distributed systems.
Yes.
But a small loss of data in this one, how do you get it back, sir?
Ma'am, what happens is there is you have to define a data policy. And the data policy is defined as per AIS 140 standard. There's a complete standard to it, and I'll show you the standard, what the standard says. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is the complete standard. I can share with you the standard. This is the AIS 140 Intelligent Transport System, requirements for public transport vehicle. Everything is defined in this particular standard, and you have to follow that. So there is a fallback of everything. If I search for a fallback, so you'll see there's an SMS fallback, there's a data fallback, there's an SMS fallback also. In case the device is not able to receive the SMS, there's a data fallback also. So what happens is this device is basically communicating to a centralized backend system. This is the diagram which I showed you earlier, right? So what happens is the device is actually connected to multiple systems. It is connected to multiple servers. One server is the central repository of the government, which has a DR in it. It is a cluster of servers. It has a DR. And second thing is it is also connected to the centralized server of the device manufacturer. So what happens is the data is getting transmitted to two different servers collectively. And this particular device has an inbuilt storage. So what happens is it can store up to 40,000 records. What happens is the vehicle definitely is not always having the signal to the GPRS. So to avoid loss of data from the device to the server, what will happen is the device will store the data inside its storage the moment it is in gray area or black area, I would say. So if it does not have a signal back to the servers or GPRS is down, it will continue to store the data inside the device. The moment it gets the connection back, automatically all the data is sent to the server. So this is one way wherein from the device to the server how the communication is happening. Now on the other side, the data repository which I showed you earlier. Just a second. So this data storage here at this central server is not just one data. It's a replicated data across various clouds. So it's a cluster in itself. So what happens is this even if one particular cluster node is down, the second cluster node is automatically taking care of it. So there cannot be a loss of data. Now, what will happen if the data is not coming to the servers? That data is getting stored on the device. The moment it gets stored on the server, it is getting replicated across various clusters. So there is a very, very less chances that the data will be lost. So it is happening exactly as per the defined standard, which the standard has all these features already defined. I hope I answered your question.
No, you told that there's a very less chances for the date of loss. For example, just for a few 1 or 2 nanoseconds, if you lose from one cluster also, how do you rectify that, or how do you get back into the cluster? For example, 3 clusters you are maintaining. Maybe in first cluster we lost it, but that is normally the active cluster you are doing it, na? Either you do it from the logical files, or maybe it is logical files is a old way of doing it. Now, is there any new technology to get back that record into that cluster instead of logical files?
Uh, uh, I think I'll answer your question again, starting from the beginning. First of all, the data won't get lost from the device. Is that clear? That cannot be done, because if it is not connected to the server, it will start retaining the data on itself. Now, the second thing is the device sends the data, and that data got stored in the one of the cluster servers, right? Now, this is over virtualization. This particular cluster has a replication, both physical as well as virtual. So what happens is the data gets immediately, transferred to various clusters. It could be a physical cluster where it's stored within the same data center, or it could be over the cloud. So both strategies are being followed, so that I would say data, I'll correct myself, that the data, there's not any chance of data being lost here. It cannot be. It is all been provisioned. The servers, the cloud is provisioned in such a way that the data cannot be lost at all. So there is zero chance. So I'll correct myself on that. Shobha ma'am, did I answer your question?
One more question from the participant from the chat box. Will you able to for this?
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, sir. We are able to hear you.
Yeah, actually, I'm not able to open my chat box. Can you tell me what is the question?
What is the data storage rate or the recommended sampling rate? Janaki Raman sir, you can unmute and you can ask the question, query sir.
Yes, sir. So you're talking about nanoseconds of data storage. Am I right, sir?
Nitish sir, is it audible for you? Participant sir got disconnected. Again, he will join. மறுபடியும் கோர்ஸ் பண்ணணும். Janaki Raman sir, you can ask your query. Sir joined.
Yes, sorry everyone. I got disconnected somehow. I got kicked off from Zoom.
No problem,
sir.
no problem.
So I would like to know about the sampling rate or how the data is being sampled. What speeds?
Sampled at what level are you asking about?
In terms of the field devices and the data storage.
You're asking about the data packet sample, or you're asking about the repository?
Actually, on the sensor side and on the server, how it is being logged.
Okay, so I'll tell you about before that I'll explain you the scenario how it happens. So there's a device which is collecting, which gets connected to the satellite and creates a data packet. So the packet is about 250 bytes. Now this packet is being stored on a FIFO basis on the device. Once it gets connected to the server or over a socket, there's a TCP socket, it gets connected to the server. It sends those, on the server, there are listeners which are running, which are listening on particular ports. So what happens is the device is connecting to that particular socket and sending those packets as chunk of packets as 250 bytes of packet each. So till the time it is connected, it is sending that particular device, that packet, or the set of packets that it has stored, or live packets as well as historical packets, to the server. Now the server the listener server is connected to a set of I would say a complete data store is there, which is the cloud which is there. Now this cloud is in a cluster. It is a cluster form. It's a database cluster. This particular listener sends that packet to that database, as well as it stores the packet on a file system. So there is a set of files being generated by every server, in which creates a repository of all the devices that get connected to it. So it is for devices are basically identified by their IMEI. So it is for each IMEI there is a data set. Now that data set is storing all those 250 byte data in itself. I showed in one of the demonstration, I showed how that packet is coming as a log in the logs. This packet also gets stored at the central database. Now there are different kinds of databases, but the more generic used databases are MySQL databases, and with no SQL installations. So what happens is those databases are getting connected by the application listeners, and they send the data to the MySQL or the SQL servers. Because these SQL servers are all running in clusters. So even if one cluster is down, they are able to, the data is being replicated to these particular databases through that MySQL cluster that is being installed on the servers. So this data gets stored in the form of MySQL formats. There are various MySQL formats we might be aware of. So this is how the whole data repository and the transition of data is happening. So the cloud is a very intelligent cloud. There is specific complexities to that particular cloud, because it has to get connected to not just itself or to the application server. It also has to create a replication of its data for user experience. So there is a separate application, there is a separate database layer which handles the user experience data. So all kinds of reports, live data that you see right on the panels that I was demonstrating, it is coming from a separate layer. So this is how the whole data is coming up and getting installed on the service.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So regarding implementation, I want to say that it is basically the states or the implementation agency of the states which actually finalize how the data would be, how the data structure would be, and they customize the architecture depending upon states requirements. So some of the states have lesser vehicles, some of the states have very large fleet of vehicles. So the number of servers at the application layer, caching layer, database layer, all kinds of layers is being designed specifically by the implementation agency. So this is how there are various agencies involved. There's NIC involved. There's a uh, state NIC involved, central NIC involved. Then there are some of the transport departments has their own conservation agencies like Wipro and all. So that is for them to decide and how this whole application, how database management would be happening, and how application layers would be designed and for a particular state. So just to add to your knowledge of how it is being implemented, but they are using various strategies to do it. Any other question, please?
Any questions from the audience? Sir, will my students, it is not a query, will my students will be able to get an opportunity to do internship in your company?
I'm sorry, ma'am, your voice is not very clear to me.
Sir, will my students will be able to get an opportunity to do internship for a few months in your company?
Oh, you're most welcome to do that. We
Okay,
always
thank you so
welcome
much, sir.
very bright talent.
Okay,
Our companies strongly believe in giving a strong chance to people. We have numerous number of time people coming right from down south and working with
Okay.
us. We'll be
Yes,
very
sir.
happy to do that.
yeah, because the pre-final years and final year students especially, they have a 4 months of internship project they have to do.
Right.
And really, if they are interested, I'll just have a recommendation through
We'll,
you.
we'll be very pleased to host them.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
I would like to thank our speaker, Mr. Nitish Mahajan, Managing Director of Cognitive Total Solutions, for enlightening us with his knowledge in his busy schedule. We are glad to have you as a guest speaker, sir. Thank you so much. Your session was very informative and gave us a deep insight into the topic of big data and intelligent transport management and vehicle telematics using AR and VR. I once again thank you, Mr. Nitish Mahajan, sir, for presenting us a wonderful session. Thank you, sir, and thank you all for your participation. And instruction for the participants.